All right, so this is how to make a project in SoundTrap using the Patterns Beat Maker. So the first thing you're going to do is go to the Music First BPS landing page for our class, and you're going to log in, and I'm going to log into this student sample account that we have here. You're going to navigate over to your class, and you'll see an assignment called SoundTrap Week 2 using the Patterns Beat Maker. So you're going to click on that and open it up. And for this week in SoundTrap, we're going to use something that is called a Step Sequencer. So a Step Sequencer is essentially a drum program where you have 8 to 16, depends on the machine or the program, different like lights that you'll turn on or off for each individual sound. And then when the program runs, it's going to play back each of those little parts or steps in a sequence. So that's why it's called a step sequencer. Originally, these types of step sequencers were physical machines. So I have a really cool article that goes over that here, this nice little Reverb article. If you want to check it out, you can get a little history on that. And now there's also a lot of step sequencers like the one we're using today in SoundTrap, which are digital. All right, so we're going to follow these instructions here. Click on the top left corner of the task that says open in SoundTrap. So we're going to open it up in SoundTrap. And then we're going to discard this. We're going to go music, and we're going to title this new trap, this new SoundTrap project. We're going to call it, I'm going to call it for me that your name. So we'll just put sample student, and then you're going to call it SoundTrap Step Sequencer, or something that lets me know that you're working on this project here. Hit enter, hit save. Cool. And then the next step is that you're going to select a couple of loops that are not drums, because we're going to use the step sequencer for that. So a couple of loops that are not drum and put them in the project to start with. So I'll go over to my loops here, and I can put in maybe some piano chords, scroll down, find something. Cool. I like that. So I'm going to add it in. There's a number of different loops that you could drag in here. Try not to drag too many. Maybe keep it simple. But put some loops in there that are not drums, and that'll get you started. And then you're going to use the Patterns Beat Maker to add drums. So how we do that is you're going to select this Patterns Beat Maker right here, and it's going to automatically open this up to the beginning of the track, or wherever your play header is. So make sure that it's back at the beginning. And what's going to happen is now when I put in like a kick drum, it's going to start looping this little individual segment of the song that it's playing back, because while we're playing it and turning on these lights, it's only going to be as big as this segment is. Right? So there's a couple different things here, right? So you can just turn on a bunch of random lights if you want, but be mindful. Be mindful, because if you turn on a bunch of lights and it looks random, chances are it's probably also going to sound random. So what I would like you all to try and do is try to put in one of these combinations, right? So the first combination that we have is just a really simple bass and snare. So this is kind of the first thing that you can try. Right? You can also add some hi-hats to this combination, like this, if we add them in here. Right? It doesn't sound bad. We can also add even more hi-hats in there if we want it to go kind of crazy. Right? It doesn't sound bad. That's one combination that you can have, is having the bass and the snare separated in this way. The other way is you can have them separated with more length. So bass and then snare over here, and then seeing how that sounds with some hi-hats that we can put in there. So let's get these in every other one. Then we play it back. Cool. I actually kind of like how that sounds. That's one thing that you can try. Also, so try out some different combinations of how I'm organizing these lights. These are like really standard, typical beats that you can kind of start with. And then, of course, you can always add on to them. Once you have a beat that you like, you can go back here. And then what you'll do is the same way that you did with your loop when you extend it, you can also extend this little pattern that you've created. So now if I start it back from the beginning, what I can have is this full drum sound for the whole time. And as always, remember to save everything that you're doing. Now, if you wanted to add a little bit more to this, you definitely could. What you might want to try and do is add some other instruments from the kit, right? We have a hi-hat that's open that we can add in. We have a crash that we could add in there. But just be mindful that it's going to also add it to these different parts here. Right? So play around with adding in some different sounds. And then the other thing that you can do is select a different kit. So if you go into drums, you can click any of these kits and it's going to change the way that it sounds a little bit. So there's, you know, a bunch of different things that we can put in there. We can put in this new kit. Right? Pretty cool. Now, say that you have a sound that you like, but you don't want it to last this entire thing. You don't want to loop it, right? You want to be able to create and manipulate different parts of the groove and maybe you have it last for this long, but then for the other part of it, you want to do something different. So what you can do is if you hold the Alt key on your keyboard and then you click and drag while you're holding down the Alt key, then you release the click, release the Alt key. You can have two different segments of this. So now when I click on this, if I wanted to add in like a different sound that's maybe like a ride bell on the offbeats for this little part, I could have it here. But I don't know how this is even going to sound. Let's see. That's actually not a sound that I want to put in there. I actually want to do something a little different. Maybe we can do a ride that sounds like this. Yeah, that's what I want. So I'm going to put that in there. Like here, this is another combination that you can try. So now what we're going to have, if we save it, now what we're going to have is two different grooves. So I had this groove at the beginning, and now I have this groove here, and I can edit both of them. See, this one's different now. I can edit both of them individually. So if I listen to it, now I'm going to have two different grooves. And the new groove. Right? And this is a really, really simple project. If you make it this far, I would be happy. If you wanted to expand on it and try some other things, you can always add in more loops. You can extend these loops. You can add in different projects. You can add in vocals, anything that you want. When you're done or along the way, if you get stuck, what you'd want to do is make sure that you invite me as a collaborator. So you'll go over to your little social icon here, press invite, type in my name, select me, and press invite. And then it'll say that an invitation has been sent to me, and we can work on the track together. As always, make sure that you send me any questions you have on this, and have fun.